Welcome back to the YCS recap. We just concluded YCS Orlando 2025, first event of 2025, and of course the Supreme Darkness format. And to no surprise, Ryziel Fiendsmith taking it all home. We're going to discuss the matches, we're going to discuss the meta changes that happened because of the last set, mainly probably Mitsurugi and a few other cards from Supreme Darkness. And yeah, let's dive into it. So, the meta itself, what is it made of? Basically, right? Let's go ahead and check out the YGO Pro article here for YCS Orlando. This is the breakdown. So, we have a pretty big chunk of Ryziel here. You can already see that almost half of the field, and this is a big event. This is a 2,200 person YCS, which is kind of crazy. We have, out of the top cut, we have, I think, 35 out of the top 64. So you have 29 Ryziel and 7 Mitsurugi, which is 36 actually. So these are also Ryziel decks, right? Then afterwards, we have, of course, Malice, which makes up another good chunk, about a third of Top Cut with Malice. And then you have some stragglers with Tenpai Dragon, you have Mermail, you have one pure Fiendsmith or Bestial, and then even one Primite. So what does this tell us? I'm not sure if Mitsurugi is real or not. That is the question. A lot of very good players have brought Mitsurugi to this event. Is it necessarily that good of a deck? Probably not as good as Fiendsmith Ryziel still. It has a lot of problems. We're going to see some replays and we're going to discuss that. So, let's dive in. This was the finals, and as you can see, getting impermed and then just getting impermed once again, because this is a hand trap meta, is not ideal when you're playing Mitsurugi Ryziel. I played this deck myself a few times. I can see why people pick it, because it has the highest ceiling of every other meta deck. And this is only basically because, you know, we got some nice support out of Supreme Darkness with a TCG exclusive archetype that nobody saw coming. We couldn't plan it out because the OCG doesn't have it. So this was kind of a left field surprise with Mitsurugi. On the other hand, Malice staying pretty consistent and keeping the lines that it has. I think that we can see from this event that Ryziel Fiendsmith, the Fiendsmith variant that has more power to extend through hand traps, more power to play different lines, better follow-up than Mitsurugi, or just pure Ryziel in general, is the one taking it all home. And I think Fiendsmith, unfortunately, it is still the better variant. We can already see that Konami just announced today, very fittingly, that Fiendsmith is coming out in Master Duel. It's already coming out limited, semi-limited, and we'll see what happens with Tracked, right? Now, let's discuss some of the strengths of this format and what are some of the problematic cards that we saw on stream. So we're going to get to Malice. People are loving to hate on Malice, but this card is always going in and out. So last time we saw Abyss Dweller being so popular was Tier Elements format. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember Dweller being that good anywhere else, because similar to Tier Elements, Ryziel can make this card very, very, very easily, even easier than Tier Elements could. And this basically makes it so that when you're playing at a high level with a Ryziel Fiendsmith opponent, you are invalidating half of their deck. Essentially, with Dweller negating the whole Fiendsmith part of the deck, you just have to play Ryziel into a full board. And yeah, that's not as easy as it sounds. And we can see that from Clifton and Jose's game right here. Now, Dweller just got banned in the OCG on the last ban list alongside X'd, Ryziel X being limited to 1. Now, there is some support coming with a Tachyon support coming out in March that is going to support the Ryziel deck. It makes it easier to search for level 4s basically, even if Bonfire gets hit, or even if X gets limited at some point. There's still tools that haven't even been released in the TCG, and this is going to happen. But Abyss Dweller, since it's not an engine card, those usually are the ones that go first. The non-engine, the Toxic Floodgates, and Dweller had a target on its back for forever, and maybe now it's the time. Shout out to Jib. Really good job this year and last year, like consistently topping Gabriel Braithwaite. If you don't know, he's got a very awesome YouTube and Twitch channel. I like this guy a lot. Jib, YGO, playing Malice. Malice, again, taking the other bigger chunk of this tournament. It's basically all Malice and Ryzeal up there. And I think it's pretty awesome to see a deck building set like Crossover Breakers, first wave support, doing this well. I think the last time we saw this was probably like Punk and Brave, I believe. Like out of the gate, first wave of support being super successful. That's pretty awesome. A lot of people are hating on Ryzeal, on Malice, sorry, which I don't really understand. The deck has like 3 auto-lose cards, like with Lanciamal Charmies, and yeah, it's just another combo deck. It's not as resilient as the Fiendsmith variants or the Ryzeal variants. Ryzeal Cross is a super unfair card, in my opinion, but there has been some new developments with Malice because of Supreme Darkness, and you probably saw this already if you watch my videos. If you don't, there's a video explaining the new deck list for the Supreme Darkness format with about Aku, the Lightless Shadow. This card can special summon a monster, light or dark, during the opponent's turn or your turn from the graveyard. Basically, you end up with a Nightmare Griffin, which is a pretty huge floodgate. It's basically an auto-win situation if you get to resolve your stuff, and Malice is still very strong. We saw, and we're going to see some deck lists at the end of the video, that the ones that have been released on YGO Pro, and there are some interesting developments. Basically, Malice players playing Ryzeal cards, and you'll see exactly why. Shout out to my boy Robert. I don't personally know Robert. Maybe somebody in the comments, or Robert himself, maybe watches the channel. This is a brand new channel before everything else, and we saw him pulling off the Edo here. The deck is still, kind of like getting a seizure on the floor, not really alive. I wouldn't know what to call it, but shout out to Robert. This was fun to see. Saith is also a team member of GGYGO, is a good friend, so this was a very awesome game to see. Murray Mail, we're going to see that also in the top cut. I mean, the deck, if it does well, like throughout the day, you're going to be able to stop with it if you're lucky. Yeah, it's gonna work out for you. Now, some of the meta hand traps here. So Nibiru was definitely the biggest one out of them all, but check out this interaction. We got the crowd clapping for the top deck, for the hard drawn crossout designator. I don't think this should even be a card. But yeah, we see Nibiru, we see Veilers, we see Imperms, we see Ash, we see a lot of Molcharmies. Hand trap meta is a thing. We did see Metaltronus, and we're going to see that in a few deck lists as well. But Nibiru and also Droll, we saw Droll, and especially against the Mitsurugi variant, it's going to be pretty solid. I think after this event, people are probably going to realize Mitsurugi is not as good as Fiendsmith. I mean, it took literally the best players in the world, and Jesse Cotton, and Triff, taking it, carrying the deck, even though it got to the finals. I was prepared to be a fan of Mitsurugi, but the first time I played it, I felt like, this is not, it doesn't feel safe. Like, it's really high rolly. I don't like these types of decks, but yeah, the meta is basically Nibiru, Droll, and every other hand traps you can cram in your main deck. Going back to here, we can see that basically, right, we have a pretty clear understanding. We have Tavion Crowley winning the event, of course, with Benjamin Tamarkin with a Mitsurugi, getting it to second place. I think, I don't know about the past, but like in terms of TCG exclusive archetypes on release, getting second place in a YCS, it's pretty impressive. But you can see it basically is just like Tenpai Dragon, Ryzeal Fiendsmith, Malice, Mitsurugi, 1 Primite. Let's look at some deck lists. This is Sebastian Sanchez with the Bestial Fiendsmith Primite deck list. This is pretty cool. I have a deck list similar to this that I won a tournament with before Supreme Darkness and without Fiendsmith. It was just like Primite with Alexandrite Dragon. If you don't know what this engine does, it gets you to either Alexandrite or White Dustin. Now it has Primite Ether Barrel that can search for Primite Drill Beam that is a negate and banish. Tons of hand traps, tons of Bestials, tons of Fiendsmith cards. Like, makes perfect sense to me. With Primite Howl. Wow, it's pretty cool. And then we have, of course, we discussed Mermail. And I think we already saw, like in this tournament, we saw some Perulias in the main deck, which is crazy. Obviously, this deck plays it in the main deck. Shout out to the barrier statue, bro. But Perulia is really good against Mitsurugi and Ryzeal. It just straight up is good. So if you go second against them, if you go first, you win. If you go second, it's pretty good. Deep Sea Aria, banish 1 water, add 1 level 4 or lower Sea Serpent from deck. This is okay. This is a good extender. We see Xyz Encore here, more Minstrel. Super unfair card. And then Meows and Lancia. We didn't see a lot of Meows on stream, to be honest. And then some of the new techs here with Malice specifically. Metaltronus. This card is cool. We saw a lot of it, I think, throughout this weekend, at least in people's hands. Maybe not that much on the field, but we see that they're playing 1 Ryzeal Detonator. We are playing, of course, the Nightmare Griffin here with the Abawaku. And yeah, this is Malice. This has been YCS Orlando. We have YCS Birmingham at the end of next week. So we're going to do another review and recap for that as well. So if you're looking to hear what's going on without watching the whole event after you wake up on a Monday, just subscribe and turn on the bell because this video is going to be here next week as well for Birmingham. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the other videos on the channel. We talked about Primite here, Malice. Check those videos out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.